Hello. In this video, I am going to put aside the question of whether COVID-19 is a contagious, transmittable illness and whether social distancing and masks actually do anything to mitigate the effects of that illness. And I'm going to assume that that is the case, even though I don't believe it is the case. And I'm going to speak to those people who believe that it is a real virus and that social distancing and masks mitigate it, and try to address those people, because that is what a large number of people assume, because that's what they've been told to believe. Now, on that basis, we are hearing about new variants all the time. Matt Hancock, in a recent press briefing, gave 4 considerations that need to happen. 4 things that need to happen before we lift the lockdown. The first one was that the number of deaths needs to reduce. The second one was the pressure on the NHS needs to reduce. The third one is the vaccination program needs to be working and saving lives in practice. And the fourth one is that we don't discover any new strains or variants. Well, unfortunately, that translates down to a never-ending lockdown, because these things that he needs to happen are so vague. He hasn't been specific. He hasn't clearly defined precisely what needs to happen. And particularly with the new variant one, he can claim at any point there's a new variant. They can just make any claim they like and create excuse after excuse after excuse with no accountability for more lockdowns. And this is a dire situation we are in. Now, I've known people who've had health scares, cancer scares, and they have been to, I'm sure we all know similar people as well, and they would go to their doctors and they get checked and they take medicines to try and keep the cancer or whatever it is at bay, to try. They can't eradicate the tumour, they can't root it out. It's there, they have to live with it, but there are steps they can take, or they're told they can take, that will keep the cancer or whatever it is, the potential disease at bay, keep it dormant, hold it off, delay the onset, eliminate or minimise any symptoms, all that sort of thing. But ultimately, there comes a point when you've done everything you can. And what I find terrifying is when the government are continuously saying, despite all the damage this current lockdown and all the lockdowns have done to people, that they're continually saying that we might have to go further, we might have to have even tighter restrictions. The thing is, there comes a point where you have to admit you've done everything you can, and you have to acknowledge that if you try to do any more, you're going to cause untold amounts of damage in other areas, which would defeat the whole object of what you're trying to accomplish, i.e. Controlling or eradicating a virus. So it doesn't matter what new variants are announced and how deadly they are. We are continuously being told this new strain or that new strain, the South African variant or whatever it is twice as deadly, or it affects the young, or it's got some other symptoms. And it's being used to justify continuing lockdowns. Well, these lockdowns are incredibly damaging to the economy, to people's overall health and well-being. And I say this as someone with Asperger's syndrome, who's often been accused of ignoring the bigger picture and only looking at one detail, doing a jigsaw and kind of paying all my attention to the policeman's buttons and ignoring the rest of it. It's staggering that more people can't see this, that the masses, that an overwhelming majority can't see this insidious idea that we only look at COVID and we take so much action, supposedly, to tackle COVID, that other people, their health suffers in other ways. absolutely staggering. So the bottom line is, it does not matter what new variants are announced, what the next thing is going to be. There has to be a point where the government say, we've done everything we can in terms of social distancing and masks. Nothing more is going to be helpful. Anything more we do is going to be damaging. We have to live with this virus. We have to, in a way, let the NHS get overrun, because ultimately you have to look at all these things as a whole. If you are genuinely trying to work for everyone's best interests, for the best interests of people's health and well-being, it's absolutely insidious. So my message is that it does not matter what new variant is announced or how deadly it is. There is only so much you can do. At some point you have to live with it. At some point you have to let nature take its course. Otherwise, you are cutting off somebody's leg to eradicate an ingrowing toenail. You've defeated the whole object of trying to treat an ingrowing toenail if you have to cut the leg off in the first place. The fact that we have this COVID-only policy, that nothing else matters policy, and that the likes of Matt Hancock aren't even acknowledging the sheer damage lockdown is doing, thinking that everyone can just go into hibernation and it's not going to cause any damage to people's overall health, well-being and financial situation. The fact he can ignore all that is absolutely staggering. And the likes of Matt Hancock and the rest of them need to one day be forced to answer the hard questions. No more being shielded or having soft interviews. They need at some point to be forced to confront these questions, these types of questions, and be challenged by real scientists. Thank you.